to this new session, and we should be able to touch on two topics, right? The Active Directory, then also the um, Azure costing, right? So one of the things we need to understand is before okay. So before one of the reasons why an organization, right, would want to hire you as an administrator is because they want you to be able to manage their Active Directory, especially an organization that their users are predominantly using Azure, right? For they use cloud in all their services. They have all their services are cloud-based, and they don't have any on-prem, right? So if you're coming in as an Azure administrator, a cloud engineer, you should be able to manage, or a platform engineer, you should be able to manage the Active Directory, right? And also help the company reduce costs, right? There was a time a company was spending about $1 million, right, in a year. Yes, $1 million in a year. And one of the tasks of the VP of the company is to make sure that they are reducing that amount yearly because their services are predominantly on the cloud, right? So apart from the managing the Active Directory, because when you manage the Active Directory, you're also managing the security of the company in terms of you're managing the user, you're setting permissions, right? And I'm not only talking about the Active Directory, or I'm also talking about the RBAC, the role-based access control, right? So basically, this week topic is going to be covering identity and access management. Then, if we have enough time, we'll talk about the cost, briefly about the cost. Please remember that this tutorial is just about getting you into the basics, right? For you to understand deep dive. When I mean the basics, for you to be able to work with it, or they ask you a question about identity and access management, you're able to talk about users, adding users, working around the Active Directory in terms of cost. Oh, these are I need to reduce my cost. These are I need to do this. And so I might not be able to deep dive into those topics, but I give you this session is supposed to give you like a base, like a foundation to understand the other aspects. Or rather, it helps us to be able to work what we do as a platform engineer, or what you do as an administrator daily in terms of identity and access management, then in terms of also managing the costs, right? So let's dive into it. So the first thing you need to do is um, we need to understand what Active Directory is, right? When we are talking about identity and access control, Active Directory is the aspect of managing your user, adding users into the tenant. Remember, I told you from the beginning when we were talking about introduction to Azure that we have tenant, we have root tenant, we have management group, we have subscription resources, and the resource, right? So, but the Active Directory is always integrated to the tenant of that company, right? So one thing you need to know is Microsoft Entra ID is the same thing as Active Directory, right? So in on-prem, we call it Active Directory. In Azure, we call it Microsoft Entra ID, right? Previously, it was Azure AAD, right? So, but now it is Microsoft Entra ID. So we click. You don't need to provision; it is already provisioned. What we just need to do in with this resource is just manage users and applications, right? So this is the service Microsoft Entra ID, and with this you see the overview, right? The overview contains the you'll see the tenant ID, especially when you want to do a lot of automation that have to do with your tenant. You want to do some automations, do some configurations that have to do with this tenant and the subscriptions. You will need tenant ID, right? So this is unique to your environment. It's unique to the company. Do you understand? And you will see the number of users that I have. I have 19. I don't know how I have, but we'll check that. We see. You also see the groups. Excuse me. So you see the domain. I didn't. I've not added my domain, right? But if I added my domain, it's going to be falolu.com or something, or my name, which is so the domain is falolu and the subdomain is Olaitan. So the domain would be falolu.com, but I don't need that right now. So that's why I didn't add it. Right, you can see money, you can check, that's just the overview, you can check monitoring, sign-ins, right? But I don't think there's any sign apart from me. Check the properties, default directory, right? Nigeria, EU, see the tenant again, the technical contact, that's me, because this is my tenant, right? And we don't have any, we should have some recommendation anyways. So that's just the overview, right? So you can manage your tenant, but we really don't come here much, right? But these are all the tenants that I have. I think this is my default tenant, right? These are the tenants that I've worked with, that I've integrated with my email, this email, right? So I've worked with this. Who was this? Okay, I can remember this guy. I remember this guy too. I think this is for me too. I don't know if I still have the subscription or not, but somebody invited me to this company, so I can remember that. So that's just the all the tenants that has been integrated to my email, right? So let's go back to our default directory. And the first thing, you don't need to preview features. Mostly don't need it. Mostly you have a global administrator, right, which manage all these things, right? And you don't really need it except you want to use it, right? So the next thing is diagnosis and solve. I told you every resources in Azure has diagnosis and solve. Maybe your experiences of users are not able to log in or anything that has to do with your tenant. You can come here to check what is wrong with my tenant, right? Or what is wrong with my you can just write this what the issue is here, right? And your people are not able to log in with SSO. We'll still talk about that too. All right. So that's just it. Then we go to manage, right? This is where you what you do daily. This is where it comes in. Right. The first thing is users. You need to know the number of users that is in that company, right? You see that I have 19 users. Most companies have more, thousands, 30,000, 4,000 more users, right? And these are the users that I've invited into my tenant, right? So you can see the username and email, what type they are. Yeah, most of them are guests, except I give them explicit right to become a member. All right. So if you want to add user, you can click on add, create user. If it's a user that has my email, maybe that has the company's email, right? You can create a user. If it's an external user, you can click on external user to probably somebody else. Maybe you have a vendor that you're working with in your company and you need to create them as a user, you can create them as an external user. But if it's a new user that the user of the company is using, probably the email of the person is, so let's say Cam, or let's say Gospower at falolu.com, that's your email, then you create the person as an internal user. But if you have a vendor, probably the vendor wants to help you to run one automation or the other, or they want to help you to troubleshoot an issue in your environment, you can invite the person as an external user, right? So You can also check when people are trying to, when people are having issues logging in, you can come to audit log and filter. Nobody has had any issue apart from when I just logged in, and I don't think I've logged in in the last 7 days. Right? You can come here, check the severity, check category activity. Is the person able to log in or not? You can check the audit log. You cannot just check sign-in logs also. Yeah. So this one contains both the user and application signing. I'm still going to talk to you about application. So you can see that John was able to log in here, right? This audit log, sorry, I think I mixed it up. This audit log is just about changes in your environment, in your tenant. Oh, maybe I deleted the user, maybe I did this, I added a new application. You see it in the audit logs, right? But if it's a sign in, a user is trying to sign in, you can see I was able to sign in today. That was 5:46 p.m. Today. I was able to sign in. Where is this? I didn't sign in. Okay, that was 2 days ago. Yes, that's fine. From the Azure portal. And this is Sheyi also. That was 4 days ago. You can check the country at which the person is signing into. So John Sheyi. Okay, yeah, that's the person that just joined the call. So he's the one that signed it. You see, 4 days ago, he signed it from New Jersey, USA, right? And you see, he signed it using single factor, not multiple. That means username and password. So we'll still get there where probably I'm going to force him to use multi-factor authenticator to sign in. So that's just it. Then diagnosis and solve. We have deleted users to see if you have any user that have been deleted. You want to reset password and user settings. So this one we don't really work with it mostly like that, right? But you will need it. Then the next one is groups, right? If you want to group, if instead of having all your users in users, it's always good to have them in groups, right? You see that I have two groups, Kubernetes admin and I can't remember creating this, but okay, probably an owner for a node like that. So if like now, if I want to add everybody on this call or in the DevOps bootcamp, right? Because it's not all of you that is on this call. If I want to add them, I can just create a new group and say the security group, yes. But if I have my Microsoft 350 license, I can choose the license, right? Then I say DevOps bootcamp, right? I can say right. If I want, so the owner means that this person can view this group, right? And also add people to this group, right? So if I select the owner, I will definitely select myself, right? But because I'm the global admin, of course, I can also see it. Or I select AUG. So these are application. These are application which I'm still going to get there. Let's John. All right, so this is John Trey as the owner. So you will be able to see this group and also add members. I don't have anybody on this call in this tenant yet, right? I have somebody I know on this call. So now I've created the group. You can just refresh to see the group. Then you can start adding members. And if this group need permission to anything, as far as they're a member of, instead of adding them individually, the permission individually, right? You can just add the group to that permission. Then all of them will have the same permission. Do you understand? So the same activity, you see deleted, you see um, deleted groups, of course. Then come here to what's it called? Privileged identity management, right? You can also create a privileged identity management for them, where you they create something like a time-bound access, right? Or a just-in-time access. Probably if they need a contributor role, so they will be able to they will be able to request for it and use it between a time period, right? Once that time elapses, that permission will be removed from that users, right? So that's just, then we have the audit logs too. Um, the external identities, these are external users too. Roles and administration. So these are the roles that you can have in Azure. So that is on the tenant level, right? So if you come to global admin, you see global administrator, you have access to everything, including the Active Directory, everything in the tenant, you would have access to it, right? So that's just that with the roles, depending on the roles. But remember, one of the important thing in security, because of you're trying to maintain the security posture of the company, you need to give this access is on the tenant level. Please, we should not forget, is on the tenant level, right? So if you want to give an access, you should give us the least privilege access, right? So you don't just give, oh, I need access to something, give the person. No, you don't do that. Give the user least privilege. Oh, what do you do? What is your day-to-day job like? So understanding what the person does would help you to be able to give the person access. Right? If the person only works on storage account, that means you need to give the person storage, blob storage contributor. You don't need to give the person a full contributor role or a network contributor role or an app service contributor. You don't need that. You need to give that person a blob storage contributor. Um, that's even if the person wants to just read. If the person read and write, right, that means they want to update something in the storage account. But if the person is just from maybe from the HR or from the FinOps team, the finance team, they just want to see those resources, you need to give them a reader, blob storage reader role. So they just need to see what they are permitted to see. So you don't give people what's it called? Permission anywhere, right? So and so we've talked about roles and administration. Then the next one is enterprise application, right? I might not be able to talk about everything because of time. So enterprise application is something we call service principal. Sometimes we call them managed identity. What Microsoft is introducing now is managed identity. But before managed identity, there was service principal. So service principal is what you use. It's like a username and password, but not your regular user and password, right? So what service principal does is you can use service principal to connect to Azure from anywhere, even from AWS, even from Google, even from your local system. Once you have that service principal, you will be able to um be able to connect to Azure. So service, you don't create service principal anyhow, and you don't share the secrets anyhow, right? So one of the things you can see, this was Ewuji Sheyi testing one automation that he was working on, and this just an enterprise application that I'm using to do configure SSO to one tool that I'm still going to show you, right? So these are just I think this is one of there was a project, there was a company that I was interviewing for, and they told me to do an configure a lot of things. They gave me a project to work on, and I used the this service principal to be able to connect this and this, right? To be able to connect to the Azure to run the automations that I want to run. So you can just click on new application, then let me just show you. So you can decide what kind of service, what kind of platform do you want to connect to, or just a regular one, right? So this is how it looks like. You can also create your own service principal, right? You create it and you give the name, then create it, go and set up the what's it called, secret. Let me give you an example. This is an enterprise. So this, you cannot give it its role. You can also give it a use, what's it called? The role. I gave it a cloud application administration role so that it's going to be able to carry out some automation that I was doing, right? So if probably a lot of developers are working and they need to have access to this, I can give them owner so that they'll be able to see it, right? But most times you don't need to give them. If this guy has been able to log in, and you can also see the signing, single sign on, right? Check the log and see, oh, are they using this or not? If they are not using it, you just need to delete them. All right. So we have enterprise application is almost the same thing as app registration, right? But this one you just use it for an enterprise application, while app registration is also a service principal, right? So this is it. This is some of it that are here is also in enterprise application. So you can click on create new registration. This is what you use to connect BootCamp. Then this account in this, make sure that it is this, right? But if, excuse me, now if your this you have another tenant, remember you have another tenant. If you have another tenant and you want the service principal to be able to connect to another tenant, you change it to any Microsoft tenant, multi-tenant, any Microsoft ID tenant and multi-tenant, right? If you want it to connect to some personal tenant too, you can check this. But most time, if it's just your tenant, you need to choose the first option. Do you understand? Then you create, that's all. Mm. So I really do not want us to, I want to see if there's any major, then licenses, right? I don't have any licenses. I will have sure showed you guys. You see that most of this service principal has expired. So you can also leave it like that. Um, Let me see. You can also check signing, general signing in the tenant signing log, audit log, right? Provisioning log. If anybody's provisioning anything in the tenant, you can also do that. So you see the signing. It gives you a lot of details about where I'm signing it from, right? Location, to list the device. It says Windows. So a lot of times, especially if you're working for a company that knows that I let me give you an example, right? So maybe you're working for a company in Nigeria, and probably you now go for vacation, probably in France or in Portugal. You now log in. They are going to see it here, especially if they created an alert that tells them anytime a user is logged in from a location that has not been configured in the environment, right? It's going to send an alert to them and say, oh, we got this person was signing from this location, right? But there's some companies that don't care where you're working from, so they don't configure those alerts, right? So that's just it. And we have logs analytics, it's still the same logs, right? Well, I didn't enable it. So if you want to enable it, you come here, you enable it from here. So you add diagnosis setting, enable the log analytics. That's when you'll be able to see that. So now let's talk about yeah, let's talk about uh, now this basically on the tenant level. The next one would be okay. Before I go to tenant level, I mentioned SSO2, right? So look at this application. You see that I have an enterprise application here. So you can also configure this, your SSO. So maybe your company is having a SaaS tool. When I mean a SaaS tool, another paid services that they need to integrate that service to the Active Directory. That means you will need to be able to log into that service, that external service with SSO. That means with the user, your company's username and password without registering, right? If you are registering like a normal thing, then that's not SSO. You understand? So if you're using SSO, then you need to be able to configure SSO. So if you come, one of the places you configure is enterprise application, and one of this example is this. So we have let me see, many IDPs, right, for SSO. We have we have OpenID, we have OAuth, and we have SEML, right? So anyone the company uses, you can configure them, right, based on the configuration, right, on what configuration that the company is following. So now this, let me give you an example. This is another external tool. You remember, let me sign out. So this is an external tool. Do you understand? And it's not related to Azure. So, and if you're logging in with your username and password, right, that means the SSO is not configured. Do you understand? But if you get the URL and you click on SSO and you're able to log in, that is SSO. Right? That means you've integrated this SSO has not been configured properly. Checked. Probably I've made some changes recently, but that means you've configured what's it called? You've configured, you've integrated that service to your Azure. So let me just check why. Has the certificate expired? Okay, let me see. Users and roles. Is it? Yes, now. When I'm active. So, okay, fine. I'll check this later while I'm able to log in before. So let's do this. Test connection. Did you see that it's with that now? Right. Oh, okay. All right. So the certificate has expired. So because of our time, I will have just resolved it now. So so that's how you configure. So you can come to single sign-on and you see the configuration here, right? You can always let me just resolve it. So this is the certificate, right? And I can just come here and say upload. You see that it's working now, right? So you see that I'm now able to log in. So if I click on sign out, oh, I didn't save that. Oh, I didn't save it. Anyways, so you get the point that I'm trying to make, that you can configure signing, auto single sign out with the Active Directory that you have, right? And this is one of the examples. You can have another, you can have, Another, what's it called? Another service that you want to integrate to. But first, you need to understand safe settings. You need to, all right. So you need to be able to understand the IDP that the company uses. Is it OAuth? Is it SAML 2.0, or is it OpenID? Do you understand? So those are the things that it's now working. All right. So that's just how it is, right? You see, I'm able to log in with SSO without username and password, right? Another thing that I need to talk about before I leave this enterprise is multi-factor authentication, right? So now one of the things you can do is, let's say this is a guest. This I said I was going to use Shei's account because he's a member. Right? Click on the user, and I can enable. Let's okay. Let me check the single sign-on first, so you can see if he has logged in the last 24 hours. No, I don't want to let me spend much time on this. All right, but one of the things, yes, this is it. You click on Shei, right? Then you say enable MFA. So that means anytime Shei wants to log in next, it's going to require him to register for multi-factor authentication. Do you understand? And you can do that. You can do multiple selects and select everything and say everybody must, if they want to log into my tenant, they need to use MFA. You can just enable it like that. So you understand what I'm trying to say. So that's just how um that's the basic understanding of Active Directory. And the second one would, which is where I'm going to talk about the other two topics. The second topic that I want us to talk about. Um, this is where we do the RBAC, right? You remember you can do RBAC on different levels, on the management group level, on the subscription level, on the resource group level, on the resource level, right? You see, let me start from the subscription level, right? So this is it. You can also say, oh, I need to give this person access. Let me see. Can you drop your email, please? Gospower, please drop your email. So I need to give Gospower email access to this environment. Then I'll be able to collect it. If you want to check what's it called? User, you can if you want to check your own user, you can click on view my access. It's going to give you all the um if Gospower is not here, somebody else drop the email. So you see that I have owner role, right? So
Okay, I'm
this so I have owner role, and if you want to check for others, you can say check access. So you can check for access. You can say John Shea. What kind of access did I give John Shea? Okay, I gave him owner role and contributor role. All right, so that he has dropped his email. So if I want to give him a role now, remember, I want to give him least privilege access. Do you guys? So what are the resources that CAM will be interfacing with mostly, right? And one of the examples is, oh, you'll be working on virtual machine mostly. That he wants to work on virtual machine, he wants to work on app services, and then he wants to work. Or if I feel okay, I can vouch for him. He's coming in as into the company as what's it called as the Azure administrator. However, I need to be able to know his skills because when I mean know his skill, I need to be able to give him enough access to be able to do his daily tasks, right? But that enough access will also be limited, right? So he's coming in as an administrator. I wouldn't want a situation where oh they need him to do this and he will not be able to do it. So one of the things I could do is just oh sorry. So what role will I give him? Let me give him a privileged access role. I'll say let him manage anything except let you manage everything except access to resources. This is a custom role. This is not what I want to give you. I will say, okay, I can't give him owner role. I don't want him to go and delete everything in my environment, right? Let me give him okay contributor role for now. Let me see how he is able to manage the environment, right? but make sure that there's always lock on which resources that you have. And you click on next. It asks you who do you want to add. Then I'll say select member. You can just paste his email because he's not in my group. It's going to invite him as an external. You see, invite user because he has not been in the tenant before. So I click on select. Then I say, what's the next one? Review and um, assign, right? Then it's going to, because he has not been added before, they are going to send him an invitation to the default directory, right? You see, an invitation has been sent. Now he's now being added to the subscription. And that's all. So at this point, he will be able to manage all the resources in this tenant and in this subscription. Remember, you can have multiple subscription in one tenant. I only give him access to one subscription. So if I have more than one subscription, he will not have access to that. Don't forget that. Now, that's just basically how it is. So the next thing I want to talk about, I think, thank God I remembered immediately now, is two things. Two things, right? Now, there are sometimes you want to provision resources and it tells you you are not able to provision. Thank God I remember this, knowledge I will have forgotten. And tells you you are not able to provision this because you are out of quota, right? So the number one thing, you need to come and check your resource quota usage. What are you trying to provision? What's the SKU of the thing you're trying to provision? Check the quota here and see if you still have more or not. But if you don't, you need to reach out to most of the time you need to reach out. You can't do it yourself. You need to reach out to Microsoft. You can see EDS SV4 family. I only use 2 of 20. So, but which one have I used? I've not used anything. You understand? I've not even used most of those things at all. In different regions, you have quota in different region. If you are using East US, you have quota. If you are using Australia Center, you have quotas too. So West Europe, a lot of people have they have high number of resources there. So people hardly have quota issue in that region. So that's that. I just needed to mention that. And number two is the resource, right? So there are some times when you create a resource, a new subscription, they invite you as an administrator and you try to provision the resources, let's say an AI resource, and you are getting an error that you can't provision these resources. That means that AI resource has not been enabled for that subscription, right? So you need to come to the subscription, then come to, where is it? Resource provider. So what you get, you see a lot of resources that I've not registered at all, right? So let us say AI resource, AI resource, AI service. Let's say this, right? You just click on it, then register. That's all. I wouldn't want to register anything that I'm not using. Do you understand? Do you understand? So like now, let me do this. Microsoft app, right? I might want to deploy Microsoft app and I say that it is not going through. Then I need to enable it. Right. So it's going to start registering. Then once it's done, it's going to tell you that it's done. Do you understand? Right. So that's about the two things that I want to show you. Now, the second topic I want to show you, which I mentioned from the beginning, is costing. Do you understand? You need to be able to manage your costing. Right. This is going to be brief. Thank God we are still on track. We should be able to finish this in the next 15 minutes. So now the next thing so each subscription has their costing. So you need to go to each subscription to check the cost. You understand? So now, so you can say, okay, let me check the cost for last month. My cost for last month. So sorry, I chose this month. Last month, February. So how much did I spend? I spent 130 out of 150, right? So I spent 130 last month. And what are the resources that I'm spending money on? So look at it. You have storage, $69. App service. Wow, really? And a lot of things. So, but if you want to go deep dive, you need to change group by to resources, right? You change it to resources. Then accumulation, you change it to monthly. Then this you can say either stack or I love table, so it helps me to see what I'm looking for. Then table. So you see, it says, oh, for this dev disk is very important. I saved a lot of things in that VM, so I'm not surprised. He's saying I spent about $36 last month. What's this app service plan? It says I have a lot of application there running, so I spent $28. So this DevOps ASP, I don't know. Probably it was okay. The one we created during the bootcamp, right? I've not deleted it. I'll delete it after the call, right? So this for the VM, the disks for the one of the VMs that I use when I'm out of the house, right? It cost $18. I don't have anything there too, so I'm spending $3 on IPs, the public IPs to access these things, and these are just logs for notifications and stuff like that. So these are everything, how the amount that I'm spending. So one of those things is for you to be able to check, oh, this guy, how much am I? Why is this something that I can reduce? Is this something that we can work around, set up auto scaling so that during peak period, those that means I'm giving you what I'm saying now is the solution to reducing cost in the organization, right? So what you do is, oh, um, how can I reduce cost for these digs? These you can't reduce any costs, right? But for app service plan, or is there other plan that is lower than this, right? Instead of deploying two app service plan, can I deploy one and the app service that are in this bootcamp ASP, can I move them to here so that I will be able to manage those my these $27 would not be there next month. Do you understand what I'm saying? So those are the things you need to check. So you need to monthly export these things. You can just save as no, not save as, export or download. So you download it as CSV, then you can start sending it to your management and tell them, oh, this is what you noticed this month. We've been able to resolve. This is what we spent last month. Probably you deleted this ASP. This is February, of course. Probably you not deleted it in that February, so that in March you don't do that. You can send a mail to the at the end of March. You can send a mail that, oh, we are able to save this also so amount, and this is how we're able to reduce this. We did this, we did that, right? Do you understand? So that's how you manage your cost, and you can also send cost alerts to, right? You create an alert where, oh, if I've spent up to $100 in a month, send me an alert, so that you go to your subscription and say, oh, how did I spend up to $100 this month? Then you now start reducing it. Oh, I need to scale down, I need to reduce, I need to delete this is no more in use again, it needs to be deleted. Do you understand? So that's just how these are just payments, your, which where you make payments to Azure. Do you understand? So that's just how. Um, then the last one that I want us to talk about, so that I'll give room for, um, I'll give room for. Okay, no, I think it's here. I'll give room for questions. Is cost cost management and billing. So this billing is for my account. So cost management, then settings. Mhm. Okay, so what I'm looking for. Okay, yeah, this is it. So I don't have any reservations, right? So if probably you have a particular SKU or size of VM that you use every month, right? If you have a size of VM you use, probably you use a B2 V4 series of VM, right? You can do a reservation you can do a reservation for the next 1 month, 12 months, which is a year, or 24 months. So if, let's say, per advance, just simple mathematics, if you're using $20 a month for that B2, right? And in 12 months, that would be like 240, right? This reservation can help you reduce it to 220 or 200. So that means any VM that you provision, you can provision it within that scope B2. But if you provision an higher, it is not going to fall within the reservation. Right? It's just helping you to, just give it like it's just like reservation is just like a discount, right? You want to do discount, right? So this is one of those things you can also recommend for companies that say, oh, we can do it. Oh, we use a lot of this series of VM. Why not let's do reservations for this type of VM, since we use it a lot, and from that we are able to save money. We are able to save costs. Probably we are able to save $1,000 a year or $500 a year. So do you understand? So that's that about billing cost. Then identity and access management. So, do anybody have any questions before we call it today? So let's say this is question, yeah, Q&A time. Guys, does anybody have any question? So that means everybody understand that everything that I've been saying is in money.
Yeah,
Can
I
anyone hear me
don't
though?
have any question yet. I'll probably watch the video again, and then if I have any question, I'll probably drop it in the next class.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. All right then. In the absence of no question, then we would have to call it a day then. All right. Thank you very much, guys. See you next week.
Thank you so much, sir. Bye.